The wind howls, a relentless icy fist pounding against the reinforced walls of the Arctic Research Post. I feel the vibrations deep in my bones, a constant reminder of the unforgiving wilderness that stretches for hundreds of miles beyond the triple-glazed windows. Inside, the air hums with the low thrum of machinery, a stark contrast to the blizzard's roar. I bent over a workstation, the faint glow of monitors illuminating the weary lines etched around my eyes. Another long shift, another series of core samples waiting for my keen geological eye. My breath missed slightly in the cooler corners of the lab, despite the robust heating system. The Arctic Research Post isn't just a building. It's a bubble of life against an indifferent, frozen world. And right now, my world is narrowed down to a single, extraordinary piece of ancient ice. I carefully adjust the micrometer on the optical scanner, my gaze fixed on the sliver of ice. This particular sample, designated AE17-04, was pulled from nearly 2 miles beneath the surface, a frozen testament to epochs long past. For weeks, I've been chasing an anomaly, a persistent blip in the data that defies every known geological signature. It started subtle, a faint shimmer in the spectral analysis, easily dismissed as equipment calibration drift or an impurity. But it kept reappearing, growing more pronounced with each deeper segment of the core. Today, I intend to nail it down. I slide the sample tray into the advanced spectral analyzer, the machine whirring to life with a soft, almost reverent hum. On the main display, a complex array of graphs and readings begins to populate. I watch, heart thrumming with a quiet anticipation, as the familiar patterns of trapped gases, ancient dust, and microbial traces scroll across the screen. Then it appears, a sharp, distinct peak on the energy output graph, unlike anything I've ever documented. It's not heat, not radiation in any conventional sense, but a pure, potent signature of something. Unprecedented, I murmur, leaning closer, the word tasting like frost on my tongue. The data doesn't just suggest an energy source, it screams it. An energy signature embedded within the very structure of the ice, stable and powerful, originating from an unknown, perhaps ancient, mechanism. The implications ripple through my mind. A power source unlike anything humanity has ever conceived, locked away for millennia beneath the polar cap. This isn't just a discovery, it's a paradigm shift. I reach for the comms unit, a triumphant grin beginning to spread across my face, ready to share the news with the senior researcher, the one who first theorized the possibility of unusual deep ice formations. I need her expertise on the theoretical implications, her knack for connecting disparate data points. But then my hand freezes midair. I glance towards the far end of the lab where the heavy-duty geological scanning equipment usually sits, a bulky, essential piece of machinery used for non-invasive subsurface analysis of larger core sections. It's not there. The space is empty, a gaping void where the geomagnetic resonance spectrometer should be. My brow furrows. No one would move it without logging it, especially not without telling I. It's crucial for verifying the spatial distribution of any anomalous readings within a larger sample. A prickle of unease begins to crawl up my spine. I walk over, my boots echoing softly on the polished floor. I scan the surrounding area, checking the equipment logs on the nearest terminal. Nothing. No record of the spectrometer being moved, borrowed, or taken for maintenance. The empty space seems to mock I, a silent question mark in the hum of the lab. That's impossible, I mutter, a chill colder than the Arctic air seeping into my confidence. Who would take such a vital piece of equipment without authorization, especially with the blizzard raging outside, making any transport virtually impossible? Before I can pursue the thought further, the main comms unit on my desk crackles to life. The post commander's voice, usually calm and measured, is tight with an unusual strain. Chen, report to the central ops room immediately. We have a situation. The tension in his tone is palpable. The blizzard outside seems to amplify its roar, pressing in on the metal structure. I push through the heavy insulated door into the central ops room. The room is a hive of hushed activity, screens displaying weather patterns, thermal scans, and internal schematics of the post. The post commander stands at the main console, his face grim. A logistics specialist is rapidly typing on a keyboard nearby, while a communications officer monitors a static-laced channel. What's happened? I ask, my voice sharper than I intended. The post commander turns, his gaze meeting yours, heavy with concern. It's the senior researcher. She went out about an hour ago, just before the storm intensified to this level. Said she needed to retrieve a specific ice core from the secondary storage bunker, something about a hunch. He gestures to a blinking red dot on a map of the surrounding terrain, barely a quarter mile from the main post. She hasn't checked in since. The secondary storage bunker. That's a relatively short trek, but in a blizzard like this, a quarter-mile can become an impassable expanse in minutes. The wind outside howls like a hungry beast, rattling the very foundations of the Arctic Research Post. She went alone? You ask, incredulous. Standard protocol dictates no solo excursions during a level 3 blizzard warning, let alone a level 4, which is what the screens are now displaying. The post commander sighs, running a hand over his tired face. Against my direct orders, he was insistent. A silent beacon means either a catastrophic failure of the device or something far worse. The senior researcher is resourceful, experienced, meticulous. For her to be caught out like this, to ignore protocol, to have her beacon fail. My mind flashes back to the missing geomagnetic resonance spectrometer, an essential piece of equipment. A senior researcher out in the worst storm in years, against orders, her tracker and beacon mysteriously silent. It could be an accident, a tragic misjudgment in the face of the Arctic's brutal power. A cunning, calculated move. I feel the tension coil in my shoulders. The Arctic Research Post suddenly feels less like a sanctuary and more like a trap. The cold, hard knot in my gut tightens. A silent beacon means either a catastrophic failure of the device or something far worse. For her to be caught out like this, to ignore protocol, to have her beacon fail. My mind flashes back to the initial data, the incredible energy readings. This isn't just a blizzard casualty. I pivot, striding towards the communication hub within the Arctic Research Post, the heavy thud of my insulated boots echoing on the metal grating. Comms officer. I call out, my voice cutting through the hum of the base. The comms officer, hunched over a flickering monitor, spins around, eyes wide behind thick-rimmed glasses. Chen, it's gone. The senior researcher's beacon. No signal for the last 10 minutes, and the storm's worsening. Last known coordinates, I demand, already shrugging into my extreme weather gear. The urgency in my tone brooks no argument. Just beyond the ridge where he was setting up the new atmospheric sensor array, the comms officer replies, tapping furiously on the keyboard. A map displays, a blinking red dot marking the spot, now fading. Visibility is near zero, Chen. The expedition leader has ordered everyone to stay inside. Then I'm breaking orders, I state, pulling a thick balaclava over my head. The Arctic wind is a beast, and it's howling outside the reinforced walls of the Arctic Research Post. I clip a portable GPS unit to my wrist, double-check my auxiliary beacon, and grab a specialized ice axe. Each movement is precise, fueled by a grim determination. The senior researcher is out there, and so is the missing equipment, the very device capable of refining the energy signature. Losing either is unthinkable. Stepping through the airlock is like plunging into a freezing maelstrom. The blizzard hits I instantly, a solid wall of white and an invisible fist of wind. Ice particles sting my exposed skin, even through the layers of protective gear. The world shrinks to a few feet around I, a swirling vortex of white, the powerful floodlights of the Arctic Research Post quickly swallowed by the tempest. I hunch against the gale, my breath misting violently, each step a deliberate struggle against the treacherous terrain. The ground beneath my boots is a mix of packed snow and treacherous sheets of ice, hidden beneath fresh drifts. The GPS guides I, a tiny glowing arrow pointing into the void. Time stretches, each minute an eternity of battling the elements. The wind howls like a banshee, threatening to rip my hood from my head. I push on, picturing the senior researcher, her meticulous notes, her unwavering dedication. She wouldn't just vanish. After what feels like an hour, the GPS beeps, indicating I've reached the approximate location. The wind here is even fiercer, carving drifts into bizarre, sculptural shapes. I sweep my powerful headlamp across the featureless expanse. Nothing, just an endless, swirling white. Then, through a momentary lull in the wind, a glint. I move towards it, my heart racing. It's the senior researcher's comms beacon, half buried in a drift. I kneel, brushing away the snow with gloved hands. The casing is cracked, a spiderweb fracture radiating from a clear impact point. This isn't just a malfunction, it's damaged. Deliberately, it seems. A sick feeling churns in my stomach. I scan the immediate area more closely, my headlamp beam cutting through the gloom. The snow around the beacon is churned up, not just by wind, but by something else. Boot prints, yes, the senior researcher's distinctive tread, but also another set. Larger, deeper, and with a different pattern, a heavy-duty expedition boot, not standard issue for the Arctic Research Post's geologists. These tracks lead away from where the beacon was found, heading north, deeper into the storm. Following the faint impressions, I discover more anomalies. A wide, scuffed area on the ice, as if something heavy was dragged. Not a fall, the pattern is too linear, too deliberate. And then, partially obscured by a fresh drift, I spot it. A small, specialized grappling hook, the kind used for scaling ice formations, lying discarded. It's not the senior researcher's gear. She uses a different model, lighter, more compact. This one is heavier, industrial. I pick up the grappling hook, the cold metal biting through my glove. This isn't right. A weather-related incident, a simple fall, wouldn't explain a damaged beacon, unfamiliar tracks, drag marks, and a discarded piece of equipment that doesn't belong to the senior researcher. The blizzard, as terrible as it is, feels like a cover. The senior researcher didn't just disappear. He was taken. And the missing equipment, the key to understanding the energy source, was stolen. The tracks, the damaged beacon, the signs of a struggle inconsistent with the weather, they all point to one inescapable conclusion. Someone else was out here. Someone from inside the Arctic research post. The danger isn't just the unforgiving Arctic wilderness anymore. It's far more insidious, lurking within the very walls meant to protect I grip the grappling hook, my gaze piercing the swirling white, a fierce resolve hardening my features. The game has changed. I pull the thick balaclava tighter, the cold seeping through the reinforced door even before I unlatch it. The Arctic wind isn't just a beast. It's a roaring, physical force, clawing at the very foundations of the Arctic research post. My hand is on the latch, the specialized ice axe gripped firm, when a sharp, insistent alarm blares from the central console back inside. It's not the proximity alert for the blizzard, nor the standard environmental warning. This is a systems alert, critical and immediate. I hesitate for a fraction of a second. The blizzard outside promises death, but the alarm signals a different internal threat. I pivot, letting the latch click back into place and jog towards the main operations hub. The red warning light on the console pulses with urgency, a stark contrast to the dim, power-saving illumination now in effect across the Arctic research post. The main screen flashes, communications array offline critical, heating unit Delta 7 failure danger. My stomach tightens, jammed communications, a critical heating unit failing? This isn't just a glitch, it's too coincidental, too targeted. I tap the screen, trying to override the comms array. Nothing. The satellite link shows as completely severed, not just disrupted by the storm. Internal comms are still operational, but any hope of reaching the outside world has vanished. A cold draft snakes around my ankles. I glance at the temperature readout for Sector Delta 7. It's plummeting. This sector houses the auxiliary data storage and a crucial sleep pod cluster. If the temperature drops much further, essential equipment and any occupant will be in serious trouble. Anyone hear that? I broadcast over the internal comms, my voice tight. Yeah, Chen, comes the crackle of the logistics specialist's voice. Comm array's dead and the auxiliary power grid for Delta 7 just went critical, trying to reroute, but it's not taking. Forget rerouting. I order already moving. It's not a power issue. The comms are jammed and Delta 7 heating unit is showing active interference. This is sabotage. I need eyes on the comms tower relay access point and the Delta 7 unit's main conduit. The metallic scent of ozone, usually faint, is now sharper, almost acrid. Condensation glistens on the exposed pipes. You quickly scan the diagnostic ports. The readouts confirm it. The unit isn't just failing. It's been deliberately tampered with, a bypass circuit installed to overload the thermal regulators. Someone wanted this section to freeze. As you work to undo the sabotage, your mind races. Who and why? The lead systems engineer, usually meticulous, should have flagged this. You try to reach them on the internal comms. No answer. You try again, then again. A junior researcher responds. I saw them head towards the auxiliary comms room about an hour ago, Chen. Said something about checking a fluctuating signal. The auxiliary comms room is adjacent to the main comms tower relay access point. You finish bypassing the heating unit's sabotage, restoring minimal function, then sprint towards the auxiliary comms room. The door is ajar, which is unusual. No one is here. The lead systems engineer is gone. From inside the Arctic research post, you scour the room. A coffee mug sits on a desk, still faintly warm. A set of schematics for the comms array lies open, but the specific page showing the relay access is creased, almost torn, as if someone had hastily grabbed it. And then you see a faint scuff mark on the floor, leading towards a utility hatch you know leads to the underfloor conduits, a rarely used service tunnel. You activate your headlamp and drop into the cramped space. The tunnel is a maze of pipes and cables. You find a small, insulated panel, forced open. Inside, wires are crudely cut, not just disconnected, but severed with a deliberate, violent precision. This is where the comms array was jammed. This is where the lead systems engineer must have come, and this is where they vanished. You pull yourself out of the conduit, your mind reeling. 2 people gone, equipment sabotaged, and a blizzard outside that screams absolute isolation. You make your way to the main common area, where the logistics specialist and a senior researcher are huddled over a map of the Arctic research post. The lead systems engineer is missing. You announce, your voice cutting through the low hum of the remaining systems. From inside the post, and the comms array wasn't just jammed, it was physically severed from within the conduits. The Delta 7 heating unit was sabotaged too. The logistics specialist looks up, eyes wide. Missing, but how? The outer doors are all sealed. That's what I want to know, you reply, fixing your gaze on the senior researcher. I was the last one to see the lead systems engineer, weren't I? The senior researcher shifts, a nervous tick working at the corner of their mouth. I just saw them heading towards the comms room. They seemed preoccupied, said something about a priority alert they needed to investigate. A priority alert that only existed in their head, perhaps? You press. Or a message from someone else in this post, guiding them. What are I implying, Chen? The senior researcher snaps, their voice rising. Are I suggesting one of us is responsible? We're all in this together. The blizzard outside means no one is getting in or out. Exactly, you counter, which means the saboteur is still here. And now 2 people are gone, the crucial equipment for my ice core samples, and now the lead systems engineer who could have fixed this mess. Tell me, logistics specialist, did I notice anything unusual in the supply manifests recently? Anything out of place, or anyone ordering specialized tools without clearance? The logistics specialist frowns, tapping a finger on their chin. No, not that I can recall. Everything's logged, though. There was a request for a high-frequency signal scrambler a few weeks back. From the lead systems engineer, actually. Said it was for experimental environmental interference monitoring. Your eyes narrow. A signal scrambler, perfect for jamming communications. But if the lead systems engineer ordered it, why would they then become a victim? Or were they never a victim at all? The Arctic research post groans under the relentless assault of the blizzard, a constant reminder of the isolation. The failing heating systems in other parts of the post begin to trigger secondary alarms. A low, mournful wail that echoes through the corridors. The tension in the common area is palpable, a thick, suffocating blanket. Every glance, every hushed word, every nervous gesture now carries the weight of suspicion. You're trapped not just by the storm, but by a cunning adversary hidden in plain sight. And the clock is ticking, not just for the missing, but for everyone still inside. The signal scrambler, cold and sharp in your gloved hand, feels heavier than its mass suggests. The implications are a lead weight in your gut. The lead systems engineer, the one responsible for maintaining the very communications they just tried to jam, ordered this. You trace the etched serial number with a thumb, a pattern of digits that now screams betrayal. Were they a victim or the architect of this entire charade? The Arctic research post groans under the relentless assault of the blizzard, a living entity protesting the deceit within its walls. You don't waste another moment. The scrambler isn't just a piece of hardware, it's a key. You rush back to your workstation, the hum of the servers a dull counterpoint to the storm's fury. Your fingers fly across the keyboard, bypassing the main network firewall, a system you helped design. If the scrambler was used, it would have left a phantom echo, a digital ripple in the local subnet. You delve into the raw data logs, filtering for anomalous energy signatures, unusual data packets, anything that deviates from the normal operational rhythm of the Arctic research post. Hours blur into a focused intensity. The air grows stale, but you barely notice. Then a flicker. Not a direct transmission, but a series of short, high-frequency bursts, like digital whispers, too brief to be traced by conventional means, but just long enough for your custom analytical suite to snag. They emanate from an old, forgotten annex, a storage facility built into a remote ice shelf, abandoned years ago due to structural instability. It's a relic, not even on the current blueprints, perfect for a clandestine operation. A quick cross-reference with the post's archived supply manifests reveals something else. A small, specialized power conduit, designed for high-load energy transfer, signed out by the lead systems engineer 3 days before the blizzard hit. It's too specific, too powerful for any routine maintenance in the main facility. The pieces aren't just clicking, they're slamming into place. You grab your extreme weather gear, the heavy parka a familiar weight. Outside, the world is a maelstrom of white. The wind howls, a primal scream tearing at the very fabric of the Arctic research post. Visibility drops to mere feet, a suffocating shroud of snow and ice. The journey to the annex is a brutal test of will. You rely on the faint glow of your headlamp and the GPS coordinates you painstakingly extracted, each step a battle against the unseen forces of the Arctic. The ground underfoot is treacherous, a mix of compacted snow and slick ice. Ahead, a faint tremor runs through the ice. You stop, your boots sinking slightly. The ground ahead dips sharply. Your heart thumps against your ribs, not from fear, but from the raw exertion. This is it, the ice bridge, a natural formation that once connected the main post to the annex, now weakened by the relentless thaw and refreeze cycles. You approach cautiously, testing the surface with your ice axe. A deep groaning crack echoes through the whiteout. The bridge is unstable, a precarious span of frozen water and compacted snow. There's no other way across in this weather. You have to chance it. Taking a deep breath, you distribute your weight evenly, moving with deliberate, measured steps. The ice groans again, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates through your bones. Cracks spiderweb across the surface, some appearing just ahead of your boots, others forming behind you. You don't look down. You focus on the opposite side, a blurry outline in the swirling snow. Suddenly, a section of the bridge gives way with a sickening thump. The world tilts. You scramble, digging your axe into the remaining ice, your legs kicking frantically as the chasm beneath yawns open. With a surge of adrenaline, you haul yourself up, muscles screaming, and throw yourself onto the more stable ground of the annex side, gasping for air. The bridge collapses behind you with a thunderous crash, swallowed by the blizzard. There's no turning back now. The annex looms ahead, a squat, snow-covered structure barely visible through the swirling snow. The entrance hatch, stiff with ice, takes all your strength to pry open. Inside, the air is frigid still, and smells faintly of ozone and old dust. Your headlamp beam cuts through the gloom, illuminating forgotten crates, rusted equipment, and a thick layer of frost on every surface. Then you see them. In the center of the main chamber, amidst a tangle of wires and specialized instruments, lies the senior researcher. They are slumped against a makeshift workbench, shivering uncontrollably, their face pale and bruised, a thin trickle of blood dried at the corner of their mouth. Beside them, partially disassembled, is the missing core sample analysis unit, your crucial equipment. But it's not just there. It's been modified. A hastily installed power conduit, precisely like the one signed out by the lead systems engineer, feeds into a new, crude interface. You kneel, examining the modifications. There are schematics, scrawled on a discarded thermal printout, showing a dangerously amplified energy output, far beyond its intended use. This isn't just about studying an energy source, it's about controlling it, weaponizing it. The data you discovered in the ice cores, the unprecedented energy signature, it wasn't just anomalous. It was a potential destructive force. And then you see the device. Hidden beneath a tarp next to the modified analysis unit is a compact, sleek prototype. This is what the senior researcher was trying to protect, what the lead systems engineer was trying to steal. A small, encrypted data chip lies carelessly discarded next to the prototype, half buried in a pile of snow. A quick scan with your portable reader confirms your worst fears. It contains the refined data from the core samples, the schematics for the weaponized energy amplifier, and a detailed plan for extraction. The plan outlines a rendezvous point just beyond the Arctic Research Post's perimeter, timed to the peak of the blizzard-perfect cover. The author, the lead systems engineer, their digital signature is undeniable. The senior researcher stirs again, their eyes fluttering open. They took the primary drive, they rasp, pointing a trembling finger towards a vacant slot on the prototype. Tried to stop them, but they got away with it during the worst of the storm. The truth hits you with the force of an ice shard. The lead systems engineer isn't just a saboteur, they've already made their move. They have the critical data, the key to unlocking this weaponized power, and they're using the blizzard as their escape route. You have the senior researcher, barely clinging to life, and the terrifying knowledge of what's at stake. The wind outside howls a triumphant cry. You're isolated, trapped, and the clock is ticking. The senior researcher, barely conscious, slumps against the console, a shallow gash bleeding sluggishly above their temple. The truth, sharp as a splintered ice core, carves itself into your mind. The lead systems engineer, Elias Vance, is the saboteur, and he's gone. He has the data. He's weaponizing the very core of this discovery, and the blizzard is his shroud. You don't waste a second. Your hands move with practiced urgency, securing the senior researcher in a more stable position, a thick emergency blanket pulled tight around them. Operations. You bark into your comms, the static crackling like frozen leaves. I need a team to the main lab immediately. Senior researcher injured, stable but unresponsive, and locked down the Arctic Research Post. Nobody in, nobody out. You don't wait for a response, already sprinting towards the snowmobile bay. The bay is a chaos of whirring engines and swirling snow, a testament to the blizzard's ferocity even within the sheltered structure. One snowmobile is missing. Vance. You swing yourself onto the nearest machine, the engine sputtering to life with a defiant roar. The cold metal bites at your gloved hands, but adrenaline overrides the discomfort. You punch in the coordinates for the last known location of the missing equipment, a long shot, but your only lead for where Vance might be headed. The Arctic research post shrinks behind you, a beacon of light swallowed by the whiteout. The snowmobile bucks and strains against the deepening drifts. Visibility drops to mere meters, the world a swirling canvas of white and gray. You lean into the turns, your body anticipating every shift in the treacherous terrain. This isn't just a chase, it's a battle against the elements, against time, and against Elias Vance. The name Elias Vance repeats in your mind, a bitter taste. He was a colleague, respected, seemingly dedicated. Now a traitor. Suddenly, the snowmobile shudders violently. A flash of something dark in the periphery, a discarded oil drum, half buried in a drift placed just off the main trail. A trap. Vance is not just running, he's actively trying to hinder you. You swerve hard, narrowly avoiding a collision that would have certainly left you stranded. Your comms crackle again, but it's just static, the blizzard jamming any signal. You are alone out here. The wind howls, a mournful cry that threatens to tear you from your seat. You push the throttle, the snowmobile's engine screaming in protest. You notice subtle signs, almost imperceptible in the whiteout. A faint indentation in the snow, a barely visible track beneath a fresh layer of powder. Vance isn't just following the most direct path. He's taking evasive routes, using the natural contours of the ice and snow to his advantage. He knows this landscape as well as you do, perhaps even better. Up ahead, the faint outline of a jagged ice ridge emerges from the swirling snow. This is the region where the deep ice core samples were extracted, a labyrinth of shifting ice and hidden crevices. It's also where the old prospectors used to talk about a network of natural ice caves, tucked away and almost impossible to find without precise navigation. A rendezvous point. He's heading for one of them. You slow slightly, scanning the terrain. The air grows colder, sharper, a sign of proximity to ancient ice. The snowmobile's headlights cut through the gloom, illuminating a fresh set of tracks veering sharply off the main ridge trail, heading directly towards a towering, almost translucent blue wall of ice. This isn't a natural deviation. It's a deliberate turn into what looks like an impossible passage. There, a glint of metallic blue, half obscured by a snowdrift. It's a small, discarded piece of equipment, a specialized antenna booster, the kind used for long-range transmissions in extreme conditions. Vance isn't just running to a hidden cave, he's running to transmit the data. He's getting ready to sell it, to finalize the deal that will put this weaponized power into unknown hands. You dismount, pulling your ice axe from its sheath. The tracks lead into a narrow fissure in the ice wall, barely wide enough for a snowmobile. This is it, the hidden ice cave. The air inside the fissure is still, strangely warm, carrying the faint scent of ozone and something metallic, the hum of active electronics. You creep forward, each step crunching on the packed snow and ice. The blue light filtering through the ice walls deepens, creating an ethereal, otherworldly glow. Ahead, the fissure opens into a vast cavern, and there in the center, bathed in the icy blue light, is Vance. He's hunched over a portable satellite dish, his fingers flying across a data pad. Wires snake across the ice floor, connecting to a small power generator that hums softly. He hasn't seen you yet. His back is to you, his focus entirely on the blinking lights of the transmission equipment. The crucial data, the key to an unprecedented and dangerous energy source, is seconds away from being broadcast to an unknown buyer. You grip your ice axe, your breath pluming in the frigid air. The pursuit is over. The confrontation has begun. The blizzard howls, a physical entity clawing at the reinforced doors of the Arctic research post. You don't hesitate, not for a second. The senior researchers' slumped form, the blood on their temple, the fragmented truth echoing in your mind. Vance has the data. He's weaponizing it all propels you forward. You strap on your snowshoes, secure your parka, and grab the heavy-duty ice axe, the cold metal a familiar weight in your gloved hand. The trail, already fading under fresh drifts, leads toward the unstable ice cave, the very heart of the anomaly. You know it. Vance, the lead systems engineer, would go there. He would try to control it at its source. The journey is a brutal, blinding scramble. The wind whips snow into a frenzy, reducing visibility to mere feet. Each step is a struggle, the snowshoes sinking into the fresh powder, threatening to trap you. You lean into the gale, your face stinging despite the layers of protection. The ice axe becomes a navigational aid, tapping against unseen obstacles, checking for solid ground beneath the treacherous drifts. Your geological training, usually confined to core samples and seismic readings, now guides your very survival, assessing the subtle shifts in the snow, the faint echoes of the cave's structure that hint at its presence through the storm. Finally, a faint, unnatural glow pierces the whiteout, the luminescent blue-green light of the ice cave, pulsing with the same energy you'd seen in the core samples. The entrance yawns, a jagged maw of ice. Inside, the roar of the blizzard lessens, replaced by an eerie, low hum that vibrates through the very ice beneath your boots. The air is frigid, but a strange warmth emanates from deeper within, where the anomaly pulses. You find Vance near the deepest fissure, the one that had shown the highest energy readings. He's hunched over a makeshift console, cobbled together from stolen equipment, the prototype humming ominously beside him, connected by thick cables to a glowing crystal embedded in the ice wall. He's oblivious to your presence for a moment, his face illuminated by the prototype's intense blue light, a look of feverish triumph twisting his features. He's uploading the final data, weaponizing the raw energy. "Vance!" Your voice echoes, thin and sharp, against the cave's groaning walls. He spins, startled, eyes wide with a mix of surprise and a cold, calculating anger. "Chen, you're tenacious, a pity." He straightens, reaching for a heavy wrench lying on the console. "You don't understand what this is, what I can do with it." "I understand enough," you retort, gripping your ice axe tighter. "You're destabilizing the entire region for a power grab. You attacked the senior researcher. You stole the data." "A necessary sacrifice?" Vance shouts, his voice rising, almost frantic. "They would have locked it away, studied it to death. This is humanity's next great leap, Chen, and I'm going to be the one to unleash it. Imagine the power, the resources, the control." His gaze sweeps around the pulsing cave, a possessive glint in his eyes. "This isn't just data, it's a key, and I'm turning the lock." He lunges, not with the wrench, but with a surprising burst of speed, aiming a kick at your midsection. You twist, deflecting the blow with your arm, the impact jarring. The ice axe becomes a shield and a deterrent, keeping him at bay. The cave itself seems to respond to the escalating tension, a deep crack spiderwebbing across the ceiling, sending a shower of glittering ice shards to the floor. "You're going to bring this whole place down," you warn, circling, looking for an advantage. Your eyes scan the ice, seeking weaknesses, potential leverage points. "A small price for progress," Vance snarls, swinging the wrench in a wide arc. You duck under it, feeling the wind of its passage. He's stronger than you anticipated, fueled by desperation and delusion. He aims for your head, but you parry with the axe handle, the metal ringing against metal. You see it then, a fault line, a natural seam in the ice formation directly behind Vance, subtly weakened by the prototype's vibrations. It's a risk, but the entire cave is a risk. As Vance lunges again, you don't block. Instead, you drop low, sweeping your leg out, tripping him. He stumbles back, momentarily off balance. This is your chance. With a guttural cry, you bring the sharp end of your ice axe down, not at Vance, but at the fault line behind him. The impact reverberates through the cave, a sickening crack. A massive slab of ice, several feet thick, groans and shifts, tearing free from the wall. Vance, scrambling to regain his footing, glances over his shoulder just as the ice block begins to slide, creating a formidable barrier between him and the prototype. He yells, enraged, trying to scramble over the newly fallen ice, but it's too massive, too unstable. You've bought yourself precious seconds. You rush past him, ignoring his frantic shouts, heading straight for the makeshift console. The prototype glows with an alarming intensity, its hum now a high-pitched whine. The data drive, a small, black rectangle, is still plugged into the console. With trembling hands, you yank the drive free, securing it in an inner pocket. Then, using your geological understanding of resonant frequencies and crystal stability, you locate the critical power conduit connecting the prototype to the glowing ice crystal. A swift, precise strike with your axe handle, targeting the weakest point. The connection sparks, frays, and then severs with a dull pop. The prototype sputters, its intense blue light flickering, dimming, then dying altogether. The hum fades to silence. The immediate threat of weaponization is neutralized. Vance, trapped behind the icefall, slumps against the wall, defeated, his face pale in the dim, natural light filtering through the cave's entrance. You don't respond. You secure the prototype, carefully disconnecting its remaining components, rendering it inert for transport. The cave, no longer under the influence of the energy source, settles, its groans fading to a low murmur. The blizzard outside still rages, but the immediate crisis is over. Hauling Vance, dazed but uninjured, back to the Arctic research post is a grueling task, but you manage it. The senior researcher is found, regaining consciousness, their head wound superficial but a stark reminder of Vance's desperate actions. The other researchers, relieved but shaken, secure Vance in a temporary holding area. The data is safe. The prototype is contained, its dangerous potential understood and controlled. Days turn into weeks. The blizzard eventually breaks, revealing a pristine, unblemished Arctic landscape. The Arctic research post hums with renewed purpose, the incident a stark warning. You oversee the careful dismantling of the prototype, the meticulous documentation of the energy source, ensuring its incredible power will be used for understanding, not destruction. But the experience has etched itself deep within you. The Arctic, once just a field of study, has become a brutal teacher, showing you the fragility of life and the immense responsibility that comes with uncovering profound truths.